In intermediate school, Party Rock Anthem by LMFAO was in its full swing of popularity, causing every kid to learn the various shuffle dances in anticipation for the next school disco, presumably. On the playground, a few friends and I were trying to learn that sideways SpongeBob shuffle the robot man was doing in the music video, and after initial tedious attempts and consequent failure, a girl walked past, looked at us, and said in the most obnoxiously American tone and accent, weirdos. It scrambles my being to this day. The absolute audacity to say such a thing. That has nothing to do with this review, actually. It's just an obscure memory I dug up. Frankly, my journey with this album has been one with maddening contours, alternating between the desire to plug my ears and to comfortably wallow like an otter in a large pond of Pepto-Bismol. It's a bit difficult to grapple with, and the one flaw here is that any overarching concept or means of telling us what Asbestos are all about is unclear, a bit smudgy, and fittingly quite nauseating. Either this album is pounding you with industrial uproar, or flimming you with dreamy ballads. Either the vocals are clear and calming, or they burst with barbed wire levels of distortion. Some of the lyrics are a bit icky too. It's true though, some of you fools don't even clean. It all initially feels like the basis of an inside joke I'm not yet in on, and yet I kept coming back for more, which would scare even the art hoes. Often I am left wishing for more detailed soundscapes that evoke images instead of just pumping noise at random times in the hopes of provocation. But to contradict myself immediately, some of the album's standout moments are a result of shock factor. The burst of distortion on Joey's vocals on Shrimp ASMR, the dissonance behind Cassidy's spoken word on In Sleep that sounds like somebody trying to communicate desperately beyond a resistive storm, the disturbing, exhilarating 1-2 punch of Wipe the Smegma and Gaslighting. I Smoke Too Much is a zombie march akin to Venus and Furs, describing the ailments of chain smoking but doing so in a way that suggests a deep trauma. A lot of artists tend to try and sculpt wonders out of sounds that inherently sound ugly and vulgar together, but Asbestos balance it out by actually being somewhat emotionally tangible. What, you think I dislike this? No, not at all. Most tracks themselves are actually pretty excellent. They sound like those Flaming Lips ballads, but if Wayne Cohen could sing without sounding like he was on the verge of a puberty growth spurt. There's a strong wallowing sadness beneath it all, like somebody whose progress in life is stunted because they don't really know where to go next. The idea becomes clear around the time you hear the lyrics. Sometimes I feel as if I'm swimming within myself these days. The numerous ways you can interpret that is enough to warrant its own Alpha Media video. Trapped, but affirming yourself, but yet to be truly born, but being able to move only slowly. The approach of Asbestos Lead Asbestos as being whatever it wants to be at the time, according to whichever song it's on. It's aggressively itself. The only moment I actively disliked was Boys Like Me, obviously because of the clashy, graty vocal effect. I'm sure that's just another copy-pasted layer of vocal pitch shifted a semitone upwards. It was a bit too gimmicky a means of sounding alien, trying to find some way of obtuse provocation, which the album excels at elsewhere, mind you. That vocal effect works on Gaslighting because it's a repulsive and frenetic track by design, the kind of thing that would give you a panic attack otherwise, or something you would hear if you left the fridge open too long. In terms of provoking a reaction, the album's crest comes around the eye-grabbing mantelpiece of the entire record, the track titled David Bowie Was a Pedophile. Not only does this stylistically sound like something he would have written, hilariously weaponizing his own style against him, but it's also, more importantly, a reminder that most people we've come to idolize over the decades are actually mad creeps. Unfortunately, a lot of people become morally reprehensible human beings once they're gifted the pedestal of universal fame and 45 grand worth of coke. We're gonna have to reevaluate who we truly appreciate, but worry not, chums. It was only the 70s, a time when sexually progressing on 14-year-olds was just another radical pastime for rock stars. Oh, it was okay back then, I promise. There's a strange sigh of sadness when the duo decide to hit the bong instead of linger on this story for any longer. It was probably just a joke because they didn't know how else to end the song, but sometimes I do think about all the fucked cunts with major influence at the top of the hierarchy, with myself having no discernible way to take them down myself. What can I do except let our heroes go? Nature of the Feline is the sort of album with the demeanor that I wish was a lot more apparent to me back when my friends and I were called weirdos for practicing the SpongeBob shuffle for the school disco. If only I'd known at the time that there's no harm in being the weirdo if you can end up being the best damn weirdo you can be. A weirdo that's rocking the sweetest dance moves at the school disco. Frankly, it's no perfect record, but I like the idea that to somebody else it might just be. There's always more admiration for me to show to artists who are willing to make brave and scattershot moves instead of just play it safe. Even if not all the targets are hit, because the next round, maybe we'll hit more targets. We'll never know unless we try. Honestly, this shit kinda fucking goes. 7 out of 10.